You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Ian Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream, this is AFTERBUZZ TV for Scouted. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest Scouted news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AFTERBUZZ TV for Scouted.
Hello, everyone, and happy 2012, although myself and my co-hosts, who are so gorgeous as I can only look at them from New York in the AFTERBUZZ studios, we were just talking about our series of misfortunes. We hope the year is going to... This is not a sign of the year to come because we need good things to happen in 2012. But I'm very excited to be back chatting on AFTERBUZZ with all of you fabulous ladies. Scouted, of course, my third show of the night on AFTERBUZZ TV, but possibly my favorite. Not to hate on Kardashians or Real Housewives. I absolutely love them too, and be sure to check out those after shows. But ladies, I always love talking about Scouted. Being a former full-time model in New York, I can relate to this so much, and I'm very excited to talk about this episode. But let me introduce the beautiful people you're staring at on Ustream. Kendra Kabasele, KendraKabasele.com, is to the left in red, looking like the Scouted picture, like you could be in the ad, Kendra.
I didn't want to show it up.
I know, right?
Thank you.
Well, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And we have Kristen Carney, Sweat the Small Stuff with Kristen.com, if I'm correct. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
And Gabrielle Loren, who had a birthday.
Yes.
And I unfortunately missed it, even though it was steps away from my apartment in New York. Happy, happy birthday and welcome.
Thanks. Scott Lips missed it too.
I know, Scott, party man. It looks like he was off in Cabo from his blog Pop Lips, which I quite, commonly check in on now. But I'm sure if he was in New York, he would have hit it since he is the party man.
We'd hit what? The club? No, I'm just kidding.
I know. You know what? That didn't sound right.
I'm being stupid. Don't listen to me.
AFTERBUZZ. AFTERBUZZ.
Exclusive.
Thanks, Phil.
Oh, boy. Scott, I did not mean anything by that. We love you here on AFTERBUZZ. And be sure to check out poplips.com for all of his party whereabouts. Hopefully we'll make it on there like he promised us. But anyway, certainly, ladies, I'm very excited to talk about this newest episode. Two very interesting girls, two very different girls, but I think kind of the word of this episode for me is commitment, because these are two girls, we're going to get into their stories, but you look at certain girls having certain morals, certain values, and you wonder, it doesn't mix with modeling. Who does that reflect poorly on? The girls, the industry? I'm not really sure, but I'm definitely excited to talk about each situation. And let's start with Lindsay. Definitely very interesting girl. She has her values. She has Pup, her pastor. She has her list of rules. Yet she has an editorial look and could be very high fashion. What are your initial thoughts of Lindsay? Let's start with Kendra in red.
It's orangish, but I mean, it might look different on camera. Lindsay.
Oh, it's not red?
It's
orange,
like
brick.
But yeah.
Okay.
Or tangerine? No. Anyway,
All right.
No, not to stir things up.
You're really stirring over there. I'm just kidding.
Kendra, you're really causing drama now by correcting my color tinting on my computer.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Fix your monitor. No, I'm joking. No, Lindsay, I commend her for sticking to her values. Last week we kind of talked about her in our predictions, but and I kind of said that there are other, fields she could go into. But I think I'm glad she stuck to them. They seem to respect them, even though they made a few comments. But, I think things turned out well, even though we know what the outcome was at the end. But I think she'll do some work, and it'll just be some humble, fully clothed work. What did you guys think?
I have a respect, but I also have beef for kids that act older than they are. And I respect that she has values and I really do respect that, because I don't think kids today really do for the most part. So it's kind of refreshing to see. But when the kid sits there and spews it off like it's been implanted in her brain by someone other than herself, it bothers me. And it bothers me when you're going into an industry. Like, if I were to go into comedy and say I was just really against making fun of people and I was really against political incorrectness, well, then why am I here?
Yeah.
And I know modeling isn't about stripping and stuff, but it's, it just seems like you're going to be a race car driver and you have no arms. It's like you can't do it all with your feet. So that stuff just drives me crazy after a while, but I do like seeing someone who has commitment to their own values. And I did like that Michael Flutie was like, we should have all the girls go by this.
Right.
But that's as a slighter guidance, not as like the strict, like, we'll beat you with a ruler if you don't follow it type of rule.
No, but have like a division with girls who... Yeah.
It's just nice to have a code, you know, so...
Yeah, and I think it was just ingrained. She said she went to church since she was born, so I think that's why she was kind of spewing it out, like, Right.
Yeah, I don't think she knows any better, but it's good to have values. I just hope that if she does work in this industry, that she doesn't, because she has this set in her head, she doesn't kind of like break away and be rebellious because she's so straight edge, But I think it's good to have values. I think she's a little extreme. Especially, but you know what? She showed effort to work with them, especially with that sheer dress shirt
she tried on.
She tried it on, and that showed that she made effort.
Yeah, it was almost like her mom was tempted, like, well, maybe God isn't so great after all. To put it on. No,
Let's just see what'll pay the bills.
Her mom seemed like she was loosening up a little bit, like shimmying
but
or
then
something.
She was like, ooh, no.
Yeah. And then she backed off.
Yeah.
But.
It's funny that you bring up the word rebellion, because the number one thing I thought about this girl is, like, give her a year in New York and she'll be like naked on a billboard. Because
I could see
dancing
like
on the speakers.
she's somebody who blindly pulled out a piece of paper and was like, okay, so I'm not going to do nudity, I'm not going to do lingerie, I'm not going to do situations that won't glorify God, I'm not going to do innuendos, I'm not going to do drugs, alcohol, and partying. Like, this was Pastor Pup on paper, and it's certainly, let's just nail this right now, that's a turnoff to whatever Michael Flutie says, whatever Scott Lips says, though he didn't necessarily bring this up, but, Michael can say all he wants, that all girls should live by this, but the reality is that the industry has to catch up with that then, because the industry is the type of industry that you say that and then they want to put a sheer top on you because you said that. The more you say it, the more people in the industry want to challenge you. And I'm a little upset that our fabulous fourth co-host, or fifth if you include me, but Brittany Brower is not on the panel tonight, because she could attest to this with Shannon on America's Next Top Model, who's expresses her religion a lot on that show, and all they want to do is test it and break it down. So I think I agree with you guys that, it's good to have morals. I absolutely agree, and I think that's what Michael was saying, but let's be realistic. You can't walk into an agency and who sees thousands of girls a day and give them a list of pretty much everything you do in this industry and say you're not going to do it. It's just never going to happen for you if you walk into an agency like that. And that's, again, I would never talk against her morals, because I think they're great morals, but I take it a step further. Are they even her morals? Because she's only 16, and, you know, like we just said, it doesn't even seem like she really believes it right now. It's more people telling her and making her write this list. So, you know, and the other point of it is she's a very editorial model, and editorial models don't do the happy-go-lucky, you know, pajama ads for Kohl's. They do the weird, quirky, you know, towel, like clothes falling off, sheer boob showing shots in Vogue Italia. So that's another issue where her look doesn't mix with her morals.
But I'm seeing the effort, and I think that if she actually was to get booked on a job, wouldn't the job clearly state what it's for? And then the agency can figure out if they want her to work on that job so she doesn't embarrass them, maybe. You know, if it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit, and they won't send her out. But if it's kosher, then maybe
that's against her religion.
Yeah, it
She's
is.
Christian.
But it is. But I'm trying to find a word.
No, I know. Yeah.
It might be because it's a hassle for them to do that each time.
Yeah,
I
it's
think they're
almost like
turned off by that.
Too much work.
Yeah.
You know, there's thousands of girls to choose from, and it's like if this one's going to be easier to book than this one, then like just and that I think this really showed up in this episode. And we'll get to Amber later, but the small town really showed up in this episode as it did last week, but it did this week in a different way because both of these girls came in to the meetings really completely self-absorbed into their own world, and I know they're young, but they have no idea that really they don't give a shit about you. They don't. They have so many other girls to choose from. They all walked in with like their own set of like who they are in terms of like what they won't do, and it's like they had no idea that you take one step over and you replace like yourself with another girl. Yeah. And they just seem so unaware. And I will say more about it with Amber because there was a specific scene I wanted to mention. But they're so in their own world that they can't see that, like, listen, little girl, like, do you want this or not? Because if you do, cool. If you don't, get out of here.
At this point, I think it's not about what you won't do. It's about what you will do. And instead of focusing on those, like, negative aspects, like, you should let them know what you want. As opposed to what you don't want. Because that's just negative and negative energy. Don't you guys think?
Yeah. And they'll deduce what you mean out of that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if she had that list of rules, that's after you get signed. Right. And you're sitting down with your portfolio, that's when you bring it up very casually in a totally different way. You don't sit down with Michael Flutie before you even get to Scott Litz and throw the rules down like, if you want me, here's the rules. You know, like, so it was really the approach. I can't say that any of those things on her list, I mean, it gets a little tricky with situations that won't glorify God, but, you know, like the nudity, the drugs, the alcohol, those are good morals. You just don't tout it like that right off the bat because it does come off as diva. Meanwhile, she really is just having kind of ethics, but she just approached it the wrong way. But the other deal breaker for her, which, you know, is what it comes down to, you kind of can be diva if you can really throw it down on camera. You know, like if you're Naomi Campbell and you're throwing cell phones at people and you take an awesome picture at the end of the day, you get a lot more leeway. She, unfortunately, because she's so fresh and new, she really, again, like you said, Kristen, the small town really showed when she hit that screen because she didn't really bring it. She didn't have dimension, as they said. She was very disappointing on camera. I mean, I kind of am seeing a trend where all of these girls end up opening up at the end. But, you know, you see a star right away when they hit that photo shoot if they have it. And, you know, she was pretty kind of, you know, she didn't connect. You know, they thought she was present in the meeting, but then she hits the camera and she doesn't really connect. So you can't forget that. That's really the deal breaker right there.
Yeah. And if you
what
don't...
do you guys think of her?
Well, I just thought, like, if you walked into a date with a list of rules and you were like, hello, man, I might date. I will not do that. They would run for the hills. You have to apply the way you talk to people in meetings the way you would in the real world. And I just feel like she was just so out of the real world. But, you know, I do see potential with her,
the way
though,
you
in
would talk
future.
to people in the real world. It is the real world.
No, it's not though for these people. It's like a fantasy. Like they go in there like, I think I'm going to be a star. And then it's like you walk in, it's like, well, it's business as usual for these people because they do it day in and day out.
Yeah.
And these girls don't know how to deal with it. So it's like you don't walk into a date being like, I'm not going to sleep with you. I'm not going to show you my boobs. I want you to pay for all my meals. I need a ring.
Actually,
like,
I do.
I don't doubt that. No, I'm just kidding. But you can because you're so pretty. You can do it.
Well, thanks, Kristen. I appreciate that. You're welcome. I'll let the next guy know you said that. I could say it.
What did you think of her makeover and her abilities on camera and then, you know, her shots? I mean, did you think she really, I don't know that I think she was very limited. I think she didn't, as, you know, we'll get to Scott's judgment, but I think Scott kind of called her really right on. I don't think she really brought as much to the camera as they were hoping.
No, I think she brought it in real life. Like, you know, when they did the makeover, she looked she looked better in movement, I think, than
on video.
In the stills. Yeah.
It's interesting because Amber would have seemed like she would have been the more willing participant. But Lindsay was actually the one that was more willing. She was excited about her hair color, and she was excited about fashion, and you know, and
she didn't need a dance party,
right? And so it was just kind of interesting because you expected maybe Lindsay to be more uptight.
Yeah,
but I do think
No,
I will say
agree. I think Lindsay wanted it more. She just didn't really know how to do anything. I think she's still way too young. She, you know, was ready to cry towards the end. You could tell she dreams of it and really wants it, but doesn't really know what it's all about, the reality of it.
Yeah, yeah. I will say she reminded me if Miranda from Sex and the City was younger and a little bit prettier with makeup. That's kind of what she looked like.
I'm sorry.
That's actually not a bad call.
But
I don't know if anybody's signing Miranda to an agency.
Exactly my point.
The character we're talking about. Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's interesting you made a good call because Amber is somebody who I think would be Scott's exact type. I think he likes that timeless, beautiful. I mean, Amber really, at the end of the day, when they caught that one amazing shot, Amber really has the right stuff. Great body, great hair, great face, great skin. They look at all of those as money, 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 dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs. Yet, she really had, number one, no personality. She had the boyfriend thing. She was busy thinking about him. And she really didn't have a drive like you thought she would. Like, she named her horse Armani. She dreamed of the dream of being a model, but I don't think she was ready to do anything for the reality of becoming one. And that actually surprised me. I thought she would want it more, but she really showed that she didn't.
Yeah, like someone like me, I want to take her by her like wide, broad, small, like skinny shoulders and just shake her and be like, what are you doing? You're so going to regret this in a few years. And if I had what you had, I would be, you know, ballsy to the wall. Like, but you know, people are who they are. And I just was, because I agree that I think she has all the makings of that timeless class. I think she was really, really pretty.
Was great.
I would love to get these girls in here and just ask them, like, after watching your episode, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And would you change?
Yeah.
Like, do you see anything you didn't see or you didn't know you were, like, you just didn't see you were doing or acting like? Might be interesting to see what their perspective is after they've watched themselves on camera.
It's like after I watch this, I go home and I'm like, oh, I'm so stupid. I should have done that.
How come they haven't inspired
Should have
me
opened
yet?
up. Should have danced. Should have danced on the table.
Should I give my opinion?
The truth of the matter is, with any business like this, where there is a visual kind of thing to look at, whether it's a photo, a video, you know, anything like that, that is the best way to learn. So at the end of the day, even if these girls aren't getting signed, they will learn so much from watching their episodes. So that's actually a really good point. I would like to see what they think after they watch it. You know, who wishes they could get another chance, who doesn't care anymore, who's off like being a normal teenager. You know, I do actually, you know, we asked Scott about this. I really would love that follow-up somehow, Scouted Part 2 or a reunion, anything, you know, where we can really get some follow-up with these girls.
Jackie, let me ask you this question. After these girls go on Scouted on E, and I know this is a new thing because Scouted's obviously it's in its first season, but if you're a model or you're an early stage model and you're on the show and you get rejected from one management, how do other agencies see you after this? Because clearly you have exposure. Are they going to, if they think maybe Scott made a bad decision, well, do you think they'll go after them? Or are they kind of like yesterday's trash and they don't really go for them because it's like, well, they were already rejected by this agency, you know? What do you think happens with that?
Well, it's kind of an interesting thing because I think the fashion industry used to really like turn its nose up to television, you know, like America's Next Top Model. You know, girls were always told not to say you were on it when you go into agencies. But I think that's changing, and I think exposure, I think agencies, you know, industries, everybody's looking for exposure now. So we didn't even have Twitter and stuff going, you know, like as a big part of modeling when I was really in the throes of it as a, you know, in my early teenage years of, you know, really running around town and everything, you know, so I think it's becoming much more of a bigger brand picture. And I think, you know, Scott actually said that in his interview on here. And I do think that Scouted, it is a relatively new show. I don't think it'll break you, but I do think it might actually help make you a little bit because it's a little more docu, it's a little more real than an America's Next Top Model, for instance. I think it's exposure. I think it definitely won't hurt. I think it might not help, but it could help. I think that's changing a little bit because now it's like all about exposure, press, Twitter, Facebook. You know, so I think it actually could be a good thing for all these young girls.
I think that, though, like with America's Next Top Model, agencies come after those girls after they've been on the show because they see their work. And not only that, but they have a fan base. Like you said, brand. You know what I mean? They're going to bring consumers to the products or whatever they're modeling, you know, because of who they are. So they have a fan base. They have a way to promote whatever they're trying to sell. I'm pretty sure with a show like that where you're on for a season, it's a little bigger than a one episode on Scouted. So I feel like with America's Next Top Model, they are going to call you after you've been on the show.
Yeah, I mean, the true hard agencies in New York, I mean...
Because they promote that they have celebrity talent, usually when they've signed somebody that's been on America's Next Top Model.
Yeah, I mean, it helps more than anything. It helps with, like, the commercial side of the business. Anything commercial, television-related. I mean, you having that notch on your resume is, like, the best thing you can do. Like, for girls that are really looking to be beyond, you know. But make no mistake, the Armani models, like the true Gucci, Prada, Fendi models, they're not necessarily looking at America's Next Top Model for the next Gucci, Prada, Fendi girl. But, you know, I think that's not even, you know, that's like the 2% of modeling. Now there's so much you can do in the industry, and if you're not one of those girls, you're going to make the money in the commercial side anyway. So that's the side where it really helps, and I think that's where, if you're in TV anyway for these shows, that's where you're obviously going to end up kind of. So, you know, I think that's where it becomes a great thing. You know, Amber is somebody who I really think treads that line between high fashion and commercial, and like really was perfect for one had she shown more commitment. I think the haircut thing, and I've seen so many girls, you see it every season on Top Model, there's so many girls who won't change their hair, and it's like, I've been there, I have long blonde hair. Just like with the sheer top, if you say you won't wear sheer, they want to put it on you. If you have this long, beautiful hair and you seem attached to it, they're going to want to cut it. It's just how it goes for some reason. I really wish she would have been more, you know, flexible there. I think that really cost her, and I think she just froze up on that camera. But how gorgeous did she look on that camera? I mean, but you can't have Barry and the dance party on every shoot. I mean, you just don't get that. So
Jackie,
really kind of sad for me to watch Amber.
That's where she's good with commercial work, though, because she looked great to us watching her on TV, and in that one shot, she looked very commercial. But when it came down to it, if you saw, she didn't even move. Like you were saying, they had to do the dance party. I don't even think she was moving after that. Like it was like tiny, like I mean,
It
maybe
looked
the last
like-
5 minutes she was moving.
It
for
looked
real.
like when you bring your baby to Sears and you have to move around to get the baby to smile or like look. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, you're right.
Jackie.
Yes?
Oh, I was just going to ask you, how many times were you asked to cut your hair or change your hair when you were modeling?
Oh, well, it was the first. It's the first thing that any agency want. They'd love to do this to you. It's like an initiation right thing. It's like the first thing I had to do was you see that, they go right into the hair chair. That's what they do. Agencies love doing this because they like feeling like they created the package. So it was the first thing I had to do. I actually had the shortest hair I've ever had in my life. It was just at maybe below my shoulders, but probably 6 inches shorter than it is now, 7 inches shorter, and they darkened it. That was the darkest my hair has ever been. So it happened. I was sweating. My palms were sweating. They dyed my eyebrows. I've never had my eyebrows dyed before. I was like, what is going on? I actually really thought I looked like an alien. But
did you
I went into the agency and I smiled, and then I went home and I cried.
I was going to say, did you cry in front of them or afterwards? But
Right, afterwards,
Yeah.
of course. But that's because I wanted it so bad. That's how I acted. Even though I'm probably the number one person who never let somebody touch my hair, I let that happen because I wanted it that bad. And yes, I went home and I cried, but I did it. So that's the difference between somebody who really wants it and somebody like Amber who maybe thinks she wants it, but obviously doesn't want it enough to go beyond her comfort zone. So, I wonder if she regrets it. I know towards the end when it wrapped up, they said she had a different agency, more local or whatever. But there's just some girls, especially that's why European girls and sort of international girls are so popular, because they don't come from much and they don't have any sense of entitlement, and that's why they tend to do well in the industry, because they are the most flexible. They'll pretty much do anything, so it's actually, when I started, my agency said that American girls were not popular because we're too everything, diva, privileged, everything. So, it's very interesting that this show only shows American Scouted models, because it's actually only one microcosm of the actual industry. But, I was really rooting for Amber. I really hoped that she would open up or do something, because I just, thought she had so many great elements to her that just, when she was riding the horse, she looked like a Ralph Lauren model.
Yeah.
So it was very sad to me that she was actually really more diva than a lot of the other girls so far this season.
What would be ironic is, when she was talking to her boyfriend over Skype or whatever on the computer, and he cut off all his hair.
Yeah.
She looked really kind of at first like, ooh.
Yeah, I know. And she told him. She was like, I don't like it.
Yeah, so I wonder the irony if she went home, saw her boyfriend, and then, liked his hair, and then felt maybe she should cut her hair, or didn't like his hair and then broke up with him. Like, it just, her whole world shouldn't be around his hair. But I thought that was interesting, her response to him. It's like she was acting like she, I'm sure she loves him, and I'm not questioning that.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of am, but to see her reaction to her boyfriend's haircut, and I mean, his hair was pretty scary. I mean, she's better off with him having short hair. But
I'm
anyway.
actually
I
pretty
liked it long,
surprised.
actually. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's like, ooh, ooh. This
Yeah,
was
but
his
then
hair.
it was like, he looked like I didn't even recognize. I was
Yeah,
like,
then he
who
looked
is
at
she
Average
talking
after.
to?
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty surprised that she was so diva about the hair, because being how shy she is, you don't expect a shy girl to be like stand up for herself. You expect a shy girl to be like, okay,
To succumb.
yeah, like
But I don't think she's shy. Remember the scout said she wished she would show more of her personality. She was just kind of warming up. So it might not be shy, just kind of reserved.
But when you don't have an opinion about anything, I think you're shy.
Yeah, that's
It's
how it
not-
comes across.
You obviously have an opinion. You know what I mean?
I think uptight is probably the best word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was all signs of being uptight. Like, she obviously has preferences. She just didn't open up enough to say them. She obviously has preferences about her hair, and when it faced with the change of it, she had to say it because she wasn't flexible enough or calm enough to explore it and take a chance. So she definitely was just the type of girl that walks into an agency, seems like she's shaking out of nerves, totally uptight, and that's a turnoff, unfortunately, because this is the #1 industry where you get totally put under a microscope in every which way, and you have to be able to take it. So they just can't work with someone like her who seems totally uptight, because you have to be the opposite. You deal with so many eccentric designers, and somebody asked me my sign and only book girls based on their like their signs, their horoscopes. There's just all sorts of crazy stuff.
Really? That's pretty awesome. Because I like my sign, personally.
Well, when she said, when they asked her, what's your favorite music or something, she was like, any. And they're like, what's your favorite designer? She's like, any, really?
Yeah.
I was like, shut up.
I know,
That really
Right.
bothers
bad.
me.
It was
Yeah,
bad.
she wasn't interesting enough to be a full package, and that's at the end of the day, because there's thousands of girls, you have to be a full package, and any one thing that's not going to make that package happen, that's what they're looking at you as. Are you the full package? And so I like for the judgment that Scott did not choose. I heard you guys talking about this last week, that you don't want it to be a formula where he chooses one and doesn't choose the other. Again, he didn't choose anybody, and it's very realistic, because put 100 more girls in that room and he won't choose anybody, So I'm glad he didn't just choose someone to choose someone, and I'm glad I was actually pretty surprised. I thought he might choose Lindsay, because they always love that kind of weird, edgy look, but I'm glad he didn't choose her, because she was limiting, and I'm glad that he called that out, and I'm glad, that he was honest about Amber too. She was not showing enough. So I'm actually kind of glad he didn't choose either one.
Yeah, Kendra text messaged me, you'll like this one, because I hadn't watched it yet. And I was like, I wonder what she means by that. I was like, maybe just the Christian thing or something? I don't know. And then,
no. I thought it was just a meteor episode.
oh, okay. Well, I thought you texted
Not
that to me because
EOR.
he didn't pick anybody. And I was like, that's why she texted me that, because he didn't pick anybody. But
Oh, no.
okay,
Just
never
the
mind. I
content.
was wrong.
Sorry. No, because we were talking about that. But I think she would have done better if Michael Flutie and the rest of the scouts could have come to see her on the ranch, and because she was more alive. Well, more alive, I think.
But that comes back to the coddling issue.
Right.
It's like they're like so in their own world, and this is actually what I wanted to mention about Amber, was that her mom, and of course you're going to protect your little dumpling, but she said to Michael Flutie, I don't like that, she has to prove to you that she wants to do this, and that you've made her cry. And he said to the camera, like, I think they're coddling her too much.
Yeah.
And I totally think so as well, because it's funny, like the mom sits there and tries to tell these professionals that do this day in and day out how to do their job.
Yeah.
And it's just like smackdown, like, you're wrong, lady.
Yeah.
And I get that like soft side where like you're still human and you still have feelings, but it's like these people do this every day, and they see so many girls and they don't have time to coddle and to like wipe away tears. They just don't.
Yeah, the mom was like, maybe that was unfair.
Right. Yeah.
No, I was actually really
Her mom needed a flat
shocked
iron.
that she. Well, I'm not shocked. I just thought it was weird that she started, speaking to Michael Flutie. It was just.
Yeah, it was just kind of, it just showed inexperience.
Yeah, because how old is this girl? Did they say how
She was
old
17.
Yeah. Sorry.
But
14
still,
mentally.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Take care of your own problems.
I mean, these ages are all young, but the reality is 17 is really not that young in the industry. I think it should be, but it's not. So, at this point, 17, you're not really having your mom fight your battle for you.
What is young in the industry? Can we talk about that?
12?
Well, 14, 13, is like the CFDA is trying to make 16 the minimum, but even still, girls are slipping by
Pounds?
on the runways, even younger. And so, I think it should be even higher, but the reality of it is the industry has to catch up with that thinking, because the problem is these girls don't even have women's bodies yet, like the clothes are being fit to juniors. It's like doesn't make any sense. But unfortunately, you can't, one voice can't change the industry. Maybe a lot of voices can, but 16 is technically considered the minimum according to the CFDA, though, that's not even strictly followed. So.
And what do you think the maximum is?
I don't really think it's a maximum. I mean, open calls used to kind of cut you off at like 21, 22 to start, development. But if you're
everyone's disqualified. Sorry,
I'm disqualified by 20 years.
But if you're having a successful career at 25, 26 even, you're still going to work, But kind of that discovery point is the prime is like late teens, or 21 is kind of like already feeling old to discover somebody. So
because there are agencies that represent older aged models, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's kind of these niche markets where they need, for Neiman Marcus or catalogs, you need that older model. There's definitely representation for that, but the prime model that you see in Vogue and W and all these magazines today, the prime age for those true girls that are being developed and modeling is going to be their career. That usually happens in like the 16 to 21 range as far as getting that career off the ground.
Mm-hmm. But that's good for parents. It's good for parents to know too. If they happen to come across a show, and they are from areas where modeling isn't number one in their town, its factories are. It's good for them to maybe see this, because if they have a daughter that they think has potential, it could maybe inspire them to get started. Because if they let their daughter wait until she's 18 or 19, you're really kind of doing them a disservice. So maybe this will inspire some parents to, not corrupt their child, but send them off and try to see if they should get going. Because I know for me, like, I discovered what I wanted to do later than I would have liked to. So now I feel like I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage, and that's not my parents' fault, because, you can't see model as well as you can see comedian. So my parents didn't know I wanted to do comedy. So, they couldn't send me out when I was 17.
Kristen, really disadvantaged? You're so young right now. Are you kidding me? Like, most comedians are like way old, I feel.
Well, they're the successful ones.
Okay,
Bernie Mac was discovered at 40.
You're started already, so relax.
I think you're doing fabulous and you look gorgeous, and that's all that matters. And on that note, everyone, age is just a number. 2012 is just a year. That's just getting started, and we're going to have an awesome one, ladies. But for now, let's get into a commercial and some news and gossip and predictions.
AfterBuzz TV. Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV. AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
Just like
AfterBuzz TV News.
Okay, so we all know that we are a huge fans on AfterBuzz TV of Scouted star, One Management owner, and Pop Lips blogger Scott Lips. And so basically the moral of this story is Michael Flutie, Julia Samarsova, Barry Smither, if you call in our show, we will be your biggest fans and we will promote the heck out of you. So do call us. But Scott Lips and Courtney Love have been featured on Stylists Behind the Clothes series, and you guys have to check out this video because I think it's awesome. Scott is a drummer in the band Hole with Courtney Love, and you can totally see their chemistry on this video. And I don't know about you guys, but I was so surprised to learn a little bit more about Courtney Love and her fashion knowledge, because she definitely has some interesting choices, but believe it or not, she owns and loves, one of her favorite pieces is a Nicole Richie dress. And she actually has a new clothing line, which they discussed, Never the Bride, which was designed with Pippa Greenback in London. And her collection is actually made out of repurposed pieces and rooted in her love of Edwardian dresses and materials. So it was a very cool video that you have to check out on stylist.com. I think, Scott, I believe he's actually blogging with them as well, but he makes a great partner to her, and definitely lots of interesting highlights from their time in her closet. She had a pair of Marc Jacobs shoes, which she said, this is what got Marc Jacobs fired, and he sent them to me in Seattle. I burnt the whole collection because I was so terrified. And she actually said that she stores a lot of her stuff because people will steal it. If I find something and it was Kurt Cobain's, she said, it's gone. And then she went on to talk about Vivienne Westwood, how she's really big on Westwood, and she said, even though my boobs have popped out twice now, which is not surprising. But it's really just a cool video. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, but definitely check it out on stylist.com. Always love things with Scott Lips, and can't wait to party with him in New York, right, Gabby?
Right. Just let me know and I'm there. I'll get the next flight home. Well, actually, I'm a little offended by Courtney Love because I'm wearing Marc Jacobs right now. Just to watch, but love it. I got it as a holiday gift.
Oh, very nice. Love it.
New.
Love it. A little plug, Marc Jacobs plug here on AfterBuzz TV.
You guys want to see? Can we zoom in? It's going to be upside down, but wait.
Do it.
Can you zoom in?
I'm watching on YouTube. I'm looking
Barker
for
Beauty.
it. Oh, very nice.
I'll testify. It's very nice.
Phil, you got it?
I think we have to do a closet confession.
I got it. You know what? You know what we do? We take a photo of it after and we post it on Facebook.com/AfterBuzzTV. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
I love it. I love getting Phil on camera.
For all you
This is my new
fashionistas.
favorite episode of AfterBuzz TV ever.
What about Kristen and my watch?
Oh, let's see that too. Let's take a picture.
Well,
of
what's
that
funny
watch.
about this watch, no, I won't get into it. But
Actually,
there is a
both
funny
really
story about
nice.
this watch. Yeah. I got this for my mom for Christmas, and it was funny. I was walking with her, and she goes, you know what, she didn't know I bought this. And she goes, I really want a black watch with a band that's not too thick and not too thin. She's like, not like a butch one. And so I was like, Mom? And so I showed her this, and she's like, yeah. I go, would you ever wear this watch? Because I had already bought it for her. And she's like, absolutely not. I was like, all right, that's mine.
Sad.
Oh, Mom.
Yeah. She feels like she looks like manly or something, and she doesn't. She's tiny and adorable, but anyway.
I like that.
Yeah, I was glad.
I like it.
Good, Mom.
I think you inherited a good gift there.
And Kendra, how about your watch?
Oh.
What are you wearing?
Just an old story, but I mean, I just bought it for myself like last year or something.
Very
Nobody
pretty.
really cares. It'll be on
Nice.
Facebook. Thank you.
Very nice.
Rob.
I love buying gifts for myself. I do it pretty much every day. So anyway, on that note,
That's because you live
that
in
is
New
all
York.
for your news and gossip. Check out that stylist video, and also check us out on Facebook on AfterBuzz TV, and check out those watches up close.
Not too close. You'll see the hair on my arms. It's really dark.
I'll give you some
Well,
sleeves.
for now, let's get into some other things on people's bodies.
Your
Predictions.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So
goes
it
first?
looks like we're going to have to be dealing with some body image issues next week. There's a girl with a tremendous birthmark on her chest, which certainly can run you into problems. And it's kind of a reminder how one little thing can run you into problems in this industry. It's a little scary to think about, but it is the truth. So I'm looking to see how that plays out, hoping that she has confidence even with, something like that on her body. That's the only way she'll be able to overcome it. And, of course, then there's the other side of the spectrum, school getting in the way, time commitments. So it looks like we'll have two new stories to talk about. Ladies, what are your predictions?
Can we do concealer? Like, does concealer not work these days? Are there any models with tattoos? I mean, I know it's like they'd rather not have you if you have a tattoo, but I mean, come on, there's concealer and good makeup. No,
Yeah,
for a
I actually
birthmark?
worked with a girl who did a really high-end designer showroom with their bathing suit line. It's called, when you do showroom modeling, you're constantly putting on the clothes for clients. And she actually was their bathing suit model, and she had a huge tattoo. And she came in every morning and spent the first 20 minutes covering it up with, I think it was Derma Blend. But so I guess, you know, it happens, and you can overcome it for sure.
There we go. Problem solved.
Yeah, I didn't think it looked bad without concealer. Her birthmark.
Yeah, but if you're like modeling something, you want it to be about the clothes or whatever, not about the skin, unless it's for skin product, I guess.
With retouching these days, you can pretty much retouch anything out.
And retouching.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I wouldn't predict it'd be too much of a problem. I think in shows like this specifically, they're looking for a little drama to get people interested to watch it. So I feel like maybe in the preview it could look like a little bit more of an issue than it actually is. Yeah. I didn't seem like wowed by it. It wasn't like there were 3 heads growing out of it. So
I'm interested to see that episode because, I mean, you see all these girls and you're like, where are their flaws? You know what I mean? Besides some of their personalities, you know?
Good call.
But like physically, where are their flaws? So I'm excited to see this and see how she handles her, you know, how she feels about herself and overcoming, hopefully.
I will say this about the girl who was really into her studies. I just feel like you should pick one or the other, and I feel like it was kind of the same with the moral values. You know, pick that or this, because you know going into this it's going to be a huge commitment. And I just feel like it's selfish to drag other people into it that, like, you know, you could be wasting their time. So I think that might get on my nerves.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, sorry, can we clarify? I'm lost. The studies as in?
This girl in the next episode.
Her educational stuff?
Her education is her priority. So it's like, well, then go to school.
No, but I think if you want to do something and you have a passion for education, you can still go to educate yourself.
Right, but I wouldn't drag it into the meetings and stuff. It's
well,
like
I don't
said,
think
like
that's a problem. I think if you want to be educated, you'll be educated. There's people in the acting industry that still go to school.
Right, but in the preview, she was like, "This is my priority." So it's like she was not being
I
like
get
chill
it.
about
What did
it.
she do?
This is my priority.
I get it. I just think that
She was a gay man.
I'm disagreeing with this thing that you have to choose. I think that she just needs to realize she can do both. It's not one or the other.
Pick spelling or looking pretty.
Or she can self-teach, you know, like...
Yeah, like, exactly, homeschool or whatever she wants to do.
Just like Amber. Amber was homeschooled, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. The truth of it is, I actually do agree with you, Kristen, that you have to kind of choose what you want to pursue. If you want to just do modeling on the side and do a couple of jobs here and there as you go to school, that's totally, you know, doable. But if you want to be on the runways and, like, the next huge model, it's never going to happen if you only are available Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays after 3 o'clock.
But it doesn't mean you don't have to be available. You can be homeschooled and make your own schedule.
Yeah, no, she was talking about going to college. And, like, I just feel like college you can always do part-time. But I was just saying, I don't think you should drag it in.
Like, seriously, there's always an option. You don't have to physically be at school to do school.
If she has the time.
She was just being a diva.
Yeah, but, like, there's a lot of
which
waiting
is
and
unusual.
sitting and stuff. I'm sure she has time. It's not like that. She's there, like, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and she doesn't sleep, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with that.
I'm interested to see how it plays out. I am excited to see kind of a body image issue come up, you know, and the school thing. These are all, what's good about each episode is these are all kind of realistic things that do get in the way or, you know, present themselves as sort of a hurdle that you have to overcome. So, you know, they're doing a good job with touching upon very realistic things that do come up in the industry that I've seen. So I'm very excited. I think it'll be a great episode to watch next week, something we haven't seen before. And I hope all of you ladies we will see again next week on Ustream as I watch from New York and join you once again bi-coastal over here. And hopefully we will have Brittany Brower from America's Next Top Model back with us. And we'll see you all next week. Until then, tweet us all. And check out everyone's websites, and we'll meet here again next week.
At AfterBuzzTV.com.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.